Here is exactly how our AI sales rep made Mike $72,000 in the month of April 2025 by qualifying, nurturing, pre-selling, following up, and booking appointments with all the inbound leads that he receives from his content. Let's first review the results and the goals. We were receiving the same number of leads, and later in the video I will show how we track that, but we increased the appointment booking rate by 2.5x through automating the entire sales process after the person sent him an actual DM on the Instagram, and grew the revenue by 35% in April and 47% in May. As you can see, we did not grow the revenue by 2 or 3x, and the reason for that because we were booking more appointments, but the reason for not qualifying each and every person even further was because they hired an additional closers and they wanted to have more appointments to train them. That is why we actually increased the number of potential appointments and lowered the qualification criteria for each and every person. If this video will get 250 likes, so press the like button, I will create a live demo showing on the live Instagram account how this AI setter works exactly so that you can see it on your screen. Here is the funnel. He has 1.5 million followers on Instagram, and this is his main social media page. I hope you understand that I blur all the information out because we are building the most human AI sales reps in the world that mimic human behavior. These are not chatbots. That is why less than 1% of people who are sending us DMs understand that this is not a human. And when we are building such a systems where we are basically tricking followers and saying that this is a real person behind the actual screen, we do not want to leak this information to the public and share who of the coaches, public figures, influencers, or the brands we work with actually use this system. Not necessarily because their clients will see this video, but more importantly because they're competitors and it could be an entire mess. That is why all the information is under the NDA. I hope you actually understand that. Now, all the traffic goes to the selling high ticket products as the goal. He has multiple programs where he teaches people how to get viral on Instagram. So basically he's a coach for coaches. Now, we have two main traffic sources, the organic, which are usually the engagement seeking posts. Now, for the organic, this is not a video where I'm gonna explain all the content strategies. I post the content actively. He posts even more because you can see that he has 3,000 posts on his Instagram. But the main idea is that there are the lifestyle posts, there are useful posts, the Q&A posts, as well as the engagement seeking posts, which by the way, I use myself on LinkedIn, where you are creating some sort of a reel and ask people to leave a comment to get something in an exchange. So in here, he says, hey, comment word funnel, and I will DM you this specific template, script, prompt, whatever it needs. The second option of getting people into the DMs is through the paid ads. Now, both of these strategies goes into the Instagram DMs as the main landing point where everyone actually starts communicating with the business. Here we have the actual sales rep starting to work. Now, I will go into the backend of both the agents that we built on the VoiceTool N8N with the high level and ManyChat and the one prompt integrations a bit later. But the idea is that when we are starting to communicate with a client, we need to understand if this client is qualified or not qualified. Not qualified people means that they have less than 10,000 followers and less than 20 posts because he is coaching other coaches how to get viral, and because he sells high-ticket products. We want to make sure that this person who we're trying to engage with already has experience posting something or an existing audience. That is why all the people that are not getting qualified are actually getting transferred to our Beehive newsletter that he's posting 2 times a week. When the person is qualified, the actual sales cycle and the process starts. This is where we do qualification, nurturing, engagement, follow-ups, and appointment bookings. Qualification means we're asking multiple questions to understand if the user is qualified for our high-ticket products, so that then we can actually book the call with one of the closers. Nurturing, here we are pointing to the problems that the user has. Now, I get asked a lot, what's the difference between qualification and the nurturing, and should we separate this into the separate flows within our agent if you're building it on the N8N or on the voice flow? Usually you do not need to separate them because you can prompt it into a separate sections within one master prompt within your agent. But the idea here is that qualification is just asking questions, and nurturing is based on the answers that the user provide, pointing to the problems that they have, trying to pre-sell our program and already show why it is a good fit to make the prospect warmer so that the closer has a better closing rate. The engagement means we are trying to engage with the prospect by asking questions and not only providing the information and answering the questions back, because a lot of the times people are not ready to ask specific things regarding the program, or they don't usually know what to ask, especially if you are selling more complex products or they're afraid to take the first step. That is why you need to engage with them. The follow-ups means that when you are asking a question and when you expect a reply from the user, and when the reply is not received under a certain time frame, you are going to send a follow-up like, hey, did you see my message? Let me know, or a question mark. Same way as we talk within our personal chats, and then the actual appointment booking. So the appointment booking is the link that we're sending to the calendar. Once the appointment is booked, the conversation is transferred then to the WhatsApp. Now, on the WhatsApp, we have not integrated the entire sales wrap, where actually once the appointment is booked, we are sending the user from, the software that we're using, which is the one prompt, which is our version of the high level. Once the appointment is received, we're sending the message as the confirmation on the WhatsApp, trying to ask if they have any more questions before the call, and then the bot stops. Then the actual closer who is assigned to this conversation will continue the dialogue. Here is the backend system. We have, and you have, 2 main options to build something like that. You can use ManyChat or you can use the high level. Now, we have a system called OnePrompt, which you can license and resell to your own clients or use within your business, link in the description. The idea there is that this is a sales system in a box that you just adapt to your use case and resell for multiple 4 figures to whoever you want. This is what we are doing partially for this client, because it is based on the high level. High level has a lot of different automation possibilities. So if you go here, in the received opt-in, I'm just giving you an example. Here you can trigger the automation based on the customer reply, which is received on the reply channel like WhatsApp, or in our case, the Instagram DM. So when the Instagram is connected as a channel to high level, you can trigger this automation. Now, the reason why we are only partially using our own one prompt system for the front end and using ManyChat is because as most of the coaches, which are at a certain level, they are using ManyChat. The ManyChat is not the only, but the most robust and popular tool to build the automation engagement type of the workflows that can send, people your lead magnets and information right away through the DMs or even a reply to the comments. So here is the ManyChat account of this specific coach. You can see that we have 225,000 contacts. Now, I would say that these are leads, but again, I like to classify the leads as the prospects who have been qualified. So these are not, entirely the leads. These are more like the prospects and the contacts. Again, I will blur all of the information out, but I'm just giving you the idea. So depending on the season and the type of the day, the type of the content strategy that Mike is using within his Instagram, the amount of messages that our sales rep receives can vary depending, again, on a lot of different factors. So here, for example, if you look at this specific column, we are receiving the leads every 10 seconds. So for the past only 10 minutes, we received 20 different leads. Now, usually out of the 100 people that are messaging us to receive something, to receive a lead magnet from one of his reels, less than 2% are qualified. That is why, to not engage with everyone, we are using a qualification mechanism. Now, so let me give you an example. Here is a simple automation, which doesn't look that simple, but okay, that has a, let's say, user comments on your reel in post, right? So this is a trigger. So when a user comments on, your reel or the post, which is the engagement post, like template or like workflow or me or any keyword that you program here, he will receive an actual automated message in the DM, like, here you go, this is the link to download the template and stuff like that, okay? This is automated, we send it to everyone, it's pretty straightforward. Then what usually people do is just, download the thing and exit, right? But what we need to do, we need to remember here, we need to engage, because this is the only way how the deals are getting closed on the large number of leads and how the business is getting scaled. When you try to extract the value from each and every prospect that you receive. That is why we are actually having a flow that is sending a predefined message like, hey Eugene, thanks for getting the thing. Are you actually trying to grow your Instagram, right? Then we're gonna receive this message back and start engaging with the users. So you can see the flow here, but again, it's gonna be blurred. So I think you got the idea. The problem is that there are too many messages, right? And it's not the actual technical difficulty. We can handle hundreds of messages in 1 minute. Of course, there is a price, there is a token usage, but on the volumes that we're doing and multiple 6 figures of revenue each month that this business generates, this is not a big deal. It's more on the limitation for the Instagram. Even though the ManyChat is the official partner with the Instagram, we try to not do automated conversations if it's not necessary. Again, we haven't had any problems whatsoever, but just keep it in mind. So in order to do that, you need to run a qualification flow. So, and if I open this flow, you will see that once this tag is applied, which is check reels, we are running the webhook, and this tag is applied on the previous automations. So again, if you picture the user here opts in, receive an actual lead magnet, then we are applying a tag. We're not engaging yet. This tag triggers the automation. This automation is built inside Make. Now, we are primarily using N8N for all of our engine builds. The reason for that is because it was, a while back when we started to integrate it, and they had a direct integration with the ManyChat, plus this coach already has to make an account, so it was pretty easy. Now, pretty straightforward automation here. We are scraping. This is a duplicate of the actual automation that we're running. So here we're just using the Epify scraper to scrape the leads that we're getting on the DMs. So in the webhook, right, we're passing the Instagram username of the prospect, not the lead. Then we are running the Epify scraper to scrape this user profile to see how many followers they have and how many, reels or posts they have. Now we're running some verification aggregators, and we're asking ChatGPT, hey, now here, please analyze the user profile and identify if this user is qualified or not. Now, you can obviously say, hey, Eugene, if it's just the static values, you can, technically just simply run the different code blocks or different functions that would verify how many followers the user has. Yes, but we have a few more parameters that are actually that are analyzing the description of the last 5 reels or the post that the user have to identify the user category. That is why we're using the ChatGPT block. And here we are saying, okay, if the user is qualified, we're gonna add a tag which is qualified. If the user is not qualified, we're gonna add the tag not qualified, right? So pretty straightforward. So then what happens is when the tag which is qualified is getting added, here we are running the flow that is sending the user the engagement message, right? Remember, we're not sending it to everyone. We're only sending it to the people that are qualified, okay? What happens after? After is a pretty straightforward. Once the message is received, we're processing this message through the grouping automation, and then the reply is getting generated and sent to the user. Now let's talk about the backend as well as the high-level side of the automation. The backend is currently built on 2 platforms, which is the N8N text engine that we're using within the one prompt and you can get access to once you get the license, as well as the voice flow. There are no differences. The voice flow engine is connected to the ManyChat, and the N8N engine is connected to the high level, because the high level automations are continuing the conversations with only qualified leads after the engagement has been started on ManyChat. Now, I'm not gonna go over this specific automation here, but if you watched any of my videos, you should understand the very basics. We're setting up the variables and fields here. Then we're verifying what is the type of the request that we're looking for. And then we're assigning the prospect to different agents. Usually the prospect is assigned to the lead qualification agent, which is qualifying the prospect here, right, through a different parameters. Then we're retrieving the chat memory. We are then verifying if the user is actually has been qualified, not qualified, or still in progress. There are 3 stages. Once he's still in progress, we just continue. Once he has not been qualified, we have a separate agent. We're not stopping the conversations yet. I forgot to mention, this is an additional, the second layer of the qualification, because the one that you saw here on Meg is the technical qualification, which is the first stage based on the category, the country, the number of followers, and number of posts. But after that, we're asking questions and making sure that he is a good fit for the program. So it's a second layer for the actual qualification. And here we have the nurturing and follow-up prompts. So if the prospect is not qualified, if we understand that he is not a good fit for a program, but we still want to get engaged with them just in case something happens in future, because he has been qualified at the first stage, so he has the followers, he has the potential to become one of our students and customers. We're still keeping them in the loop, and when the user is qualified, we are updating our high-level account back with the tag qualified, and then here we're sending the user to the calendar agent that is specifically designed to book an appointment. Now, we do have a separate booking agent within the one prompt here that is designed to book appointments manually. It means that it has access to multiple different API endpoints, like tools that are directly connected to the high-level calendar through the high-level APIs. And because high-level calendar is directly connected to the Google or Microsoft Calendar, so it's like direct integration, it's much better than you would connect through the cal.com, Calendly, or direct Google Calendar. But what we're keeping finding over and over again that usually it's not needed. For example, for my agency, I use the AI sales rep within my agency. So if you are gonna book the call with us, you might talk with one of them, and you'll see that when I'm for example, receiving the DMs, or when we're working with a business that are selling either high ticket products or the service-based businesses, they just use the links. And because they are using the different booking softwares, it's always better and easier for the customer, not for us. For us, it's obviously easier because we don't need to deal with multiple endpoints, but also for the customer to just use the link and choose the time that they need. Of course, then we need to understand, once this appointment has been booked, to give this contacts to the agent so that the agent doesn't keep sending the message to book an appointment, even though the appointment has been booked. So we are fixing this problem by having everything within our one prompt high-level account where everything, comes together. Now, of course, you can build it yourself within the high level. You're gonna, spend multiple months on that, or you can, just get the license. Now, you can technically build a very similar thing on the ManyChat, but now, again, you need to think about, even though the ManyChat has a CRM-like capability with their contacts, they do not have the pipeline, they do not have a proper dashboard that you can customize, and you cannot really, integrate the calendar within the ManyChat internally, so it's not a proper, CRM-like experience. That is why you need to have something separately. And after that, what we're doing is we're just, capturing all the details that the user provided. We're updating our, the account of the user within our system back, and then we're providing the reply. Now, again, you heard me, 250 likes. I will do an entire demo setup to show you how the agent works live. But the idea is that we're humanizing the experience between the actual prospect and the bot by receiving and replying multiple messages, utterances in one chunk of the response from the API. Now, so if you think about the way users interact in the DMs, we're usually sending not only one, but rather 2, 3, 4 messages in a row. And 99.9% of the chatbots are designed in a way where they can only receive one utterance and then say something back in the return as a one chunk of text. We created a way that can receive multiple utterances from the user, group them together, then process it and generate the response, chunk this response into multiple sentences, and send it back. So this is it, guys. If you want me to create an in-depth video of a demo, how the AI setter looks and talks with a potential prospect inside the Instagram DM with a real use case and real client results that we are delivering, press the like button, 250 likes on this video, and I will create it next week. Even though this funnel might seem like a simple one, of course, there are so many nuances that they as a business have been working on for a while. What we did, we automated this specific sales process, and now instead of the 8 sales reps that they had, they have 6 that are only focusing on closing all these people and talking to the people that has been qualified and already booked an appointment